Hello, viewers. Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. I wanted to read on on Boris Johnson taking the leadership of the Tory Party in the UK. If you had a look at my last reading about 2 or 3 weeks ago on whether Hunt or Boris Johnson would be elected, Boris Johnson had very I'd say worrying cards. They weren't positive in any way. Some of that reflected the campaign. So media stories about him potentially being involved in a domestic situation, let's just put it that way, where the police were called. And also reflecting the conservative arm of the Tory party, the establishment, if you like, getting behind Hunt and really not wanting to see Johnson take the lead. As a result, a lot of those very conservative establishment types are resigning from cabinet positions in protest of Johnson being elected as leader of the Tory party. I think it was around 90,000 odd votes that Boris Johnson got, compared to about 47,000 that Jeremy Hunt got. Okay, so we know that Johnson is a Trump supporter. Trump has already come out and said we have a good man now there. He'll be great. Okay, now we know that Steve Bannon wrote a speech for Boris Johnson in 2018. So we know that Johnson, as a Brexiter, we know that the American moneyed elite, like the Mercers, were pumping money and effort into a Brexit campaign. Why were they even getting involved there? Why has this been allowed? Cambridge Analytica. Okay, so Boris Johnson, as I said, like it or lump him, is now the leader of the Tory party and will be sworn in as the UK's next Prime Minister. Some are saying that because he wasn't, I think 160,000 people elected him, which is not a democratic representation, is it? And some are saying that if he wants a mandate to govern, particularly crashing out of the EU by October the 31st, which some are saying would plunge the UK straight into recession. Some are saying call a general election, Boris, and let's see whether you've got a mandate to govern now. Very volatile situation in the UK with no real I feel, end in sight in the short term. Johnson holds, or the Tories hold, the UK Parliament very tenuously, and the same thing could happen to him as what happened to Theresa May. Can he unite the Parliament underneath him? There are some who actually are saying or have come out and said that he is not fit to govern. So let's have a look at all of these issues in the UK, very important for the EU. We've got the US Trump regime stoking the fires, again undermining the order of things. Where's all that coming from? Let's have a look at how Johnson's going to do, because he got those cards, very poor cards in my last reading, which I assumed, meant that he wasn't going to, or he may not do so well. Of course, he has now been elected as leader of the Tories. Let's find out why those cards were there. What are they telling us? So what sort of leader, what sort of Prime Minister is Boris Johnson going to make? What sort of Prime Minister is Boris Johnson going to make? What sort of Prime Minister is Boris Johnson going to make? Okay, so we've got the Moon card coming forward straight away. We are just going to have more of what we've already seen. There is that whole Brexit issue will not go away until the truth is exposed. Boris Johnson, according to my tarot reading, we don't know everything around Boris Johnson. There are things that need to come forward, and I'm feeling it is the links between Johnson, Farage. Trump has said he and Johnson and Farage will get on famously now. They'll get on very well. All these links that span across oceans and countries and borders that threaten to undermine the stability of the world order. there's so much hidden still from our view. Challenged by new beginnings. Okay, he's this submerged, I guess, past, if you like, in relation to Johnson and Brexit, is being challenged by new beginnings. Now, what that tells me, I'm going back to those horrible cards he got originally. It tells me that he's going to have a rocky road. The Eight of Pentacles is the foundation of the reading. He's got a massive task to complete. In relation to Brexit, is that even going to be possible? This is talking about a legacy and a sustainable one at that. Now, we've got in the past, we've got the Ace of Swords. So we've got, in relation, connecting to the Moon card, I'll just bring the laptop down. It's talking about justice needing to be done. And every time I read on Brexit, I get the same cards. What occurred in 2015 and 16 and why, who was funding what. Until that truth comes forward, there will be no progress here. We've got what is the potential for Johnson. How is he going to do? We've got endings in this death card here. All right, let's keep going. In the immediate future, we've got the Wheel of Fortune, suggesting that the clock is running out on this particular situation. It's a destiny situation. Everyone has their role to play. It could also be that when something ends, then progress can actually start again, because people are wanting these new beginnings. Is Johnson going to give it to them? It doesn't look, with the Ace of Swords in the past. The Moon card is a signifier suggesting things are being kept. There are things that we don't know. And the Death card is the potentiality of the future endings. It's questionable. It's questionable about whether he can actually pull this off. Two of Swords right now. This is Johnson. He's got incredibly heavy forces weighing down on him. This is the need to make decisions. Is he going to make the right ones? Because in the environment around, we've got the Two of Cups. This is partnering with people. This is unification. So is he able to, that's exactly at the crossroads, is he able to unify the parliament to achieve any sort of progress? The fear, and this is really, I feel, around why he got such poor cards in the past. There are real fears around whether Johnson is actually, according to his track record, media speculation and conservative establishment type of speculation, and then you've got the other Remainers, that side of the argument. He's a former mayor of London. I mean, I've looked at images of him where he's, on a wire, at some kind of fair, and he got stuck. He actually went on this ride and he got stuck in the middle, and there's this image of him just hanging in midair with almost looking a bit like Mary Poppins. So he's got this kind of eccentric side to him. He hasn't really, when he was, I think he wrote also as a correspondent or a journalist for the Murdoch papers, I think. Some of his stories, he started to peddle this right-winged kind of Steve Bannon, channeling Steve Bannon type stuff, which actually took a hold of the Tory party, much like the Republican Party, where there are those sections of the party that want to move more to the right, to the far right. He got noticed because of what he was writing back then, but some of it was not correct, some of it was not. He also appeared before the courts for putting forward some fake news. So in relation to, I think it was the Brexit campaign. So he's got a history. He's not the most stable. People view him as not the most stable. So we've got stable of leaders or stable of even people. So here we've got the Tower card, and it's a real fear. It's a real fear in England at the moment with him taking over. We've got the government having the last say. That's interesting. The Hierophant coming forward. A higher authority will have the last say in this case. I think I know where this is heading. The Knight of Pentacles, reliability, patience, really flying into those situations, into uncharted waters. And we've got the Ten of Cups, which is the everyday, the families in the UK. I feel what's hidden from our view is the Seven of Swords. This is around, he may not, this is where I feel this is going, he may not have the support, even though he's been elected within the Tory party, the Democratic elected party, he processes to elect their leader. He may not have, he obviously doesn't have the full support, but in relation to his government, it looks as though they're actually going to undermine. I don't know that he can unify with these cards. What's hidden from our view, the Seven of Swords, until the whole Brexit mess is unearthed and outed and the truth is laid on the table about the Brexit campaign and who was supporting who and what sort of news was coming forward. I'm not sure that any leader of the UK Parliament, regardless of which party they're from, but particularly from the Tories, are going to be successful. So what sort of a leader is he going to make? There is that whole background of what's hidden from our view that needs to come forward, and it will come forward in time. So let's have a look at whether he'll crash out. From that reading, I feel that he's not going to get the support and he'll have to call a general election. That's, in one way or another, what all my readings on Brexit have brought forward, that the UK will have another general election. Let's have a look at whether he'll crash out. I'm just going to shuffle these cards. I think this is quite an important reading, not just for the UK, but for the world, really. Let's have a look at whether or not, given the tenuous nature of things, let's have a look at whether or not the UK will crash out of the EU by October the 31st. Will the UK crash out of the EU by October the 31st? Boris Johnson has reaffirmed that this is what he intends to do. We had the Chancellor of the Exchequer, I think that's called, come out and saying it would send the UK into a recession. Will the UK crash out of the EU by October the 31st? Oh, okay. There's certainly plenty of people baying for that. Plenty of people are having this blood rush to the head and just saying, crash out, crash out, crash out. It's a crossroads is what I'm seeing, and there are decisions to be made, but it's challenged by the unity, okay, which came up before. I shuffled twice and copiously. I did two major shuffles and copiously shuffled otherwise. The disunity looks like that's going to be a problem for Boris Johnson. We've got having to juggle, and this person's not a very happy camper. He's got an ocean rising behind him, and he's trying to keep those balls in the air. He's a little bit foolish here in this deck. He's got an overly large hat on, which doesn't kind of fit properly, and he's just juggling. This is and there's a bit of a weariness here that he's trying to keep these balls in the air. I do feel that will be Johnson in relation to the Brexit. We've got the Seven of Rods here, having to defend oneself and defend one's position. The potential for this is we've got new starts here. But there's also an emotional aspect to this card as well. Emotions are running just so high. People want this over with one way or another, whether it's to leave or to stay. People want it over with. We've got the World here, So this is in the immediate future, this is a very significant question, which is what I felt. We've got the Knight of Cups suggesting that there will be some kind of offer. It's a quick offer. So Johnson could make some kind of quick offer, or his government could make some kind of quick offer to the EU. However, the EU is holding firm and saying that they're not going to renegotiate. And that the deal they made with Theresa May will stand. I didn't really want to see this card, but we've got the devil here, Saturn, disruption, chaos, being chained to something, and we've got the Ace of Swords as the fear and the hope. So new starts, but it's also the Sword of Justice here. We've got the outcome card of the Fool. It's very hard. I'll have to get some clarification on this card. This is talking about new beginnings, but and it would be very, I guess, easy to say that yes, England, the UK will crash out. But this card in this deck is talking about the English, almost like an English dandy, somebody that is dressed up in all the the costume of the aristocrats, but there's not much substance to this person. This person is a little bit foolish, striding forth, taking the risk. So on one hand, I could say yes, it's possible they will crash out. UK will crash out of the EU, but on the other, I'm seeing the Fool aspect of this card, the real, the real Fool embarking on a journey, and in the background you've got the volcano going off, and this person's about to walk off a cliff. Okay, so we've got Seven of Cups, not really being able to make a choice, and also the I'm coming back to the Parliament. I don't even think. The Nine of Cups, again, their wishes and miracles. So not being able to make a choice, the Fool card. One reading could show that yes, they will, but on the other, it could show that the choice, it's a foolish move. The Parliament will not be, there won't be a clear choice to be made on this. And we've got the Wish card here in the Nine of Cups. So there could be something else that may be happening as a result of this question. So as I said, the situation is so complex in the UK, the situation that they've got themselves into. It's not an easy read here. It's quite complex. What's hidden from our view is the Queen of Swords. This is objectivity and discernment. So what I'm going to do with that Nine of Cups there, I'm going to ask if there's actually going to be a general election, because I feel that's chained to something that's not easily solved. Disunity being the challenge there. The Sword of Justice coming out again. This is sort of almost like the Trump situation playing out in the UK. It's like everything that's happening in America. UK hasn't quite got that there with an inquiry into what actually led to the situation that they find themselves in. Because what's holding them back is the truth is not coming out around that Brexit campaign. Who was involved? What agendas were involved? What sort of money was put into that campaign? Dark money. There's a need for that all to be, it's like, revealed before any decisions can be made. So on the one hand, you could say that yes, they will crash out, but on the other, it could be that this Boris Johnson will just take too much of an unacceptable risk. And with the Hierophant in the outcome card, the outcome position in the first reading, it could be that the Parliament will actually dissolve and there could be a general election because he hasn't got the support there needed to do that. So cooler heads with the Queen of Swords hidden from our view, cooler heads might prevail. So let's have a look. Will there be a general election in the UK? Will there be a general election? Will there be a general election? Because if Johnson takes them down that path, crashes out, and there's a recession, the Tory party will not be re-elected. Okay. So will there be a general election as a result of the Parliament not being able to agree on Brexit no deal? Will there be dissolution? The Parliament, UK Parliament, dissolve as a result of the Parliament not being able to support a Brexit no deal? Will the Parliament dissolve? Will there be a general election? General election. So I'm getting the moon, the image of the moon card. We've got the Eight of Pentacles. This reminds me of the Speaker of the House with his gavel. There's a lot of work to be done here because this is a legacy, a long-lasting legacy that we're talking about. We've got what's challenging that is the unity again with the Lovers card. A deeper reading could also go back to 2015-16. What work was done, what work was financed, and for whom. The Lovers card often comes forward in relation to Russia and deals under the table, deals done with dark money. Yeah, it's not a good situation here. Foundation of the reading is things are going to actually unravel quite quickly with this Chariot here. We're not going to get much time for Johnson's victory to sink in with his own party, remembering that 160,000 people only voted to put Johnson into the PM's chair. Things are going to come forward very, very quickly. We've got the surprise news with in the past. Again, this is also an offer of something. So I feel this is around Boris Johnson being offered the Prime Ministership. The potential here is we've got wounded, and this is a knight here, a knight who has been wounded in battle and retreats. Okay, so he could pull away from Brexit no deal by October the 31st because of the political damage it might do him. We've got the King of Cups coming forward, somebody quite supportive. This is King of Cups. This is almost like a benign parental control is put in place with Johnson. We've got the Knight of Swords, truth, some sort of truth and action coming forward. The environment around that truth that's coming forward is stability, the need for stability here with this Queen of Wands. The hopes and the fears, the Hierophant. The Hierophant's also a judge. And so if the Parliament does not support Brexit no deal by October the 31st, you will have the judgment being passed down on Johnson's what some consider recklessness. The Empress. This card came forward before abundance, but it's also the women vote. It's also it's where the so the masculine energy is active and dominant, but the feminine energy is more passive and considered. So this is telling me that the stakes are very high and that there will be some discernment and some more consideration. We've got the World card, another endings and beginnings here. I don't feel that Johnson will have the support for Brexit no deal by October the 31st, and I am seeing potentially Parliament being dissolved. But somebody comes forward with an offer here. This came up in the other readings. What is the offer? Okay, there's insecurity here. Let me bring the laptop down and get some clarity on these cards because this is quite an important reading here. What will I clarify with? I'll clarify with my spellcasters. So I'm using my Aquarian deck as the main deck, and I'm going to clarify with my spellcasters deck. So let me just shuffle Johnson, Brexit. Oh, things are flying out already. Let's have a look at, excuse me, what flew out. So we've got the Eight of Swords, things coming forward very quickly, and we've got the Emperor card. Okay, so there's also an overwhelmed feeling to this card as well. Okay, let's have a look. Will there be a general election with that Empress card? Strength, abundance, decisions being made, the World card, endings and beginnings, and then an offer coming forward. What's the offer? It's quickness. It'll be whatever happens is going to, with this Chariot card, is actually going to happen very quickly now. Okay, so will there clarification on the Empress, please? Clarification on the Empress card. Clarification on the Empress, please. Clarification on the Empress. Okay, so we've got the Queen of Cups. Again, this female, feminine energy, this passive energy coming into the frame here to cooler heads will prevail, because there's a feeling here that all is not what it should be, that somebody has gotten away with something here, and this came out right in front of the Queen of Wands, and I'm assuming that again, this feminine and masculine energies here. Okay, so let's have a look. Will there be a general election with this World card, please? Clarity on the World card. Will there be a general election? Will there be a general election? Okay, so something's very hard work to get Brexit through. With that King of the Knight of Cups, I feel that this is an offer to the electorate. Okay, we've got the Knight of Wands. So we've got the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Cups here. I feel this is some sort of offer to the people. What would the offer to the people be? A general election with a referendum on Brexit. Okay, so am I getting the reading right here, Spirit? Will there be a general election and a referendum on Brexit? This is talking about moving on. Let's have a look at what else is there. And we've got our Knight of Cups coming forward. So yes, an offer to move forward and a new beginning with the Ace of Pentacles. What's hidden from our view is the Sword of Truth and the Sword of Justice. Two aces pulled there. So I'm feeling that, yes, the cards that I originally got for Johnson were problematic. Let's just call them problematic, and they were problematic because his tenure as PM is going to be problematic. There is a real issue around unity and his ability to unify the Parliament, but there is also a real issue still around that's making people insecure around what they subconsciously or unconsciously fear, that there was more to 2015 and 16 than what is known around who financed what and why. That whole Brexit campaign, the situation the UK finds itself in, needs to be examined more closely. And until the truth is realised in that situation, then decisions are not going to be made. Brexit by October 31st, I don't think so. Disunity, he won't be able to unify the Parliament. I'm also seeing that a more passive approach is forced upon Johnson, and that with the Knight of Cups coming out several times, there could very well be a general election called and a referendum at that time, because an offer is going to be put to the people of the UK, to the voters of the UK. So that's my reading on Johnson, or my updated reading. Am I right? Am I wrong? We'll see. We'll see what transpires. But with these cards, I'm just feeling that things are going to come forward very, very quickly and very, very strongly in the UK. It's almost like hang on now, because the ride could get a little rough. All right, Boris Johnson. What sort of leader is he going to be? Let's see. All right, thank you for tuning in.